Hey everybody, today is Tuesday, February the 16th, 2021, and we yesterday began talking about elapsed time and how we can use that to help us solve problems relating to finding out a start time when we know how much time was spent in an end time, or how we can find an end time when we know the start time and hours that were spent. Or we can find that time in between a start time and an end time, the time that has elapsed. So that's what we're working on again today. And we're doing this so that we can tell time and be able to stay on a schedule based on time. We can use the clock to help us with elapsed time, figuring out how many hours it took us to do a project for school or a work project. So there's all kinds of things that we can do with elapsed time. So our lesson today, again, is about elapsed time, and we're going to be trying to find out how do you calculate elapsed time? What tools do we have that we can use? So just to get the idea, elapsed time is the amount of time that has passed from the beginning of a beginning time to an end time. To help find elapsed time, count the hours, then the minutes. So we want to do our hours first and then the minutes. Now yesterday, if you watched the video that was embedded in our Nearpod lesson, you found out that we could not just simply subtract or add to find out elapsed time. Now, or to find out an end time. We found out in that video that it said that we couldn't do it because time is based on 60 minutes. Now remember, our place value system allows us to add and subtract fluently when we use our place value system. But because time is completed differently, because it's based on 60 minutes, then it's not going to allow us to use those standard methods for addition and subtraction that we used. So I would encourage you to use a number line, and those were also introduced in that video yesterday and in that Nearpod lesson. So today I'm going to show you some ways that I like doing it just because it makes it easier for me to visually see it. And hopefully it'll help you as well for those of you that weren't sure yesterday about what to do in that Nearpod lesson. So again, elapsed time is the amount of time that has passed from the beginning to an end time in a problem. So here in our first problem, it's saying that Paige started and finished her homework at the times shown on the clock. The question that we're trying to answer after we look at these clocks, kind of get an idea of what the start time is and the finish time is, it's wanting to know how long did Paige take to do her homework. So we first have to find the time, the start time. Now, we have been learning to read clocks for a couple of years now, and we in third grade learn to read a clock to the nearest minute. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to find out what is the start time for her completing her homework. Now remember, we talked about the hour hand being the shorthand, the longhand being the minutes. The first thing that we're going to look at is the hour. So we see that that hour hand is between 4 and 5. Now we all know that we always go with the number that's the first number. So in this case, or the smallest number. So in this case, it is 4 o'clock here. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at on that start time is the minutes. Now, we found out that we could count by our 5s and 10s and 1s on this clock to make it easier for us. So we actually learned more about 5s and 1s. Now we're going to talk a little bit about counting by 10s today to make that number line a little bit easier for us. So we're going to bring in the 10s today. But if I'm looking at this clock and I'm counting by my 5s, I see that it is 4:35. Now, I'm going to do the same thing with the finish clock. I need to know what time she finished. So I see that that shorthand is going toward the 6. It's not quite on the 6 yet. So I hope that you all are saying what the hour is. Is it 6 o'clock yet? No. So our hour is still 5. And then I'm going to look at the minutes. And if I count by my 5, starting at 12, as I hop, I'm going to count by my 5s. I see that it is 5:50. 550. Now, I'm going to take you over and draw a number line to show you how a number line gives you ways to find how long it took, that elapsed time. So as you can see, I have already gone ahead and I've already drawn my number line. I put the start time, which is at the beginning of that number line, at 4:35, and I put my end time at 5:50. Now, I want you to think about the hops in regards to mountains, hills, and rocks. So I'm going to draw the example of what I'm talking about here at the top. I want the big, tall hops, because it said that we should address the hours first, to represent 1 hour. Okay? So I'm going to do those represented by, and I'm going to call those mountains. So these are going to be mountains. And I'm just going to put an M for mountains because it's hard for me to type or to draw that on here. And then I'm going to do small hills, which we're used to. We're used to mountains and hills here in Eastern Kentucky. Now, our hills, and I'm just going to put an H there for you so that you know that represents a hill. These hills can be counted as either 5 minutes or 10. So I'm going to put 5 or 10. And then I'm going to put minutes at the end because we're going to be able to count. We knew that we could count on our clock by our 5s, which made it easier for us to count how many minutes something is, how many minutes after. So this is going to be minutes. And then the next thing that we're going to talk about is rocks. Now, I had some people yesterday say seconds, and that made sense. It made a lot of sense. But when we're looking for elapsed time, we're not going to think about, for these kinds of problems, seconds. So I'm not going to think about seconds. But I know that I could also count on my clock, and this is going to be rocks. So I'm just going to put an R here for rocks. This is going to represent 1 minute. So those little rocks are going to represent 1 minute, okay? And I'm going to put MIN there. And I feel your all struggle. I had somebody say that they just cannot do this online. Me neither. It's hard. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to start thinking about getting rid of those hours first. So my idea is, can I hop 1 hour? Am I going to have enough time to have an hour in between? And I see that I'm going to. I can actually put a mountain. So here goes my mountain. Remember, that's going to be 1 hour. So from 4:35, adding an hour to that, it's going to be 5:35. Now, my next question is, can I go another hour and not pass up 5:50? Can I go another hour and not pass up 5:50? Now, we all know that we can't do that because we don't have another hour. So this is going to be 1 hour. Okay? Now, the next thing we're going to think about is our hills. Can I get some hills here? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to count up, and I'm just going to go ahead and count by my 5s if that's okay with you all. Or we could do some 10s here. Let's do a 10. Let's do 10 minutes so that you can see it. So I'm going to do 10 minutes. So 10 minutes from 5:35 is going to be 5:45. Now on your paper, if you draw it on paper or on your dry erase board at home, it's going to be much easier to draw it than it is for me on the computer. So this little hill is actually going to equal 5:45. Now, I want to know, can I hop another 10 minutes for another hill? And hopefully you all are saying no. I can't hop another 10 minutes, but I can go ahead and hop 5 minutes. Now, let me erase that just a second because I want to show you, hold on just a minute. Okay, I want to show you, let me do this a little differently. Let me make my little hill. But on paper or on, like I said, on your dry erase board, it's going to make it so much easier for you to draw it. But this 10 minutes here, and I'll just do my heel a little shorter and draw it over a little longer. Now I'm going to do 5 minutes. So here goes my next heel. And my next heel is going to go here. And this one's going to be for 5 minutes. It's going to take me exactly to 5:50. Now, if I'm trying to find out the elapsed time, I can simply look at what's inside my heel here and my mountain. So I have 1 hour, 10 minutes, plus 5 more minutes is going to give me 1 hour, and 15 minutes. So I'm just going to write 1 hour and 15 minutes. So if I'm asked to find elapsed time, I can use that to help me find my answer using that number line. Now, you see the significance in the mountains, hills, and rocks. Remember, mountains are for hours. So we want to get rid of the hours first. Sometimes we could have taken it and gotten our minutes first and taken it to an even hour, like 5 o'clock or whatever. You can do that. There's not a problem with that. But I feel like for me, it's easier just to do the hours till I can't use hours anymore and then start using my minutes. And I try to use the 10s and the 5 minutes first, and then I go down to the 1 minutes. I want to quickly remind you the significance of midnight and noon. Now remember, the time from midnight to noon is called AM, and the time from noon to midnight is called PM. So keep that in mind as we're working through these problems, because that's still a significant part of telling time. So let's look at this next problem. This problem says that soccer practice began at 10:30 a.m. It lasted for 2 hours and 40 minutes. At what time did soccer practice end? Now here we're looking for an end time. So I'm going to hop over back to my dry erase board, and I'm going to show you how to do that when we're looking for an end time. So now we can draw our number line. Remember, this time we are looking for an end time. So we know that our start time is going to be 10:30. Oops, that's not really good. 10:30 a.m. And we know that we're going to be practicing soccer for 2 hours and 40 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and do my mountains first. So I know from 10:30 to 11:30 we have 1 hour. And remember, we are practicing for 2 hours, so I can do from 11:30 to 12:30. We'll get my 2 hours. And you can go ahead and label your mountains, but Miss Bays is struggling so bad writing on here anyway that I would rather you do that on your board. But I could label this 1 hour, 2 hours, and it's probably good to do that. Let me just go ahead and do it for safety's sake, just so that you can see it. So here's 1 hour, here's 2 hours. So now we've got our hours in. Now we need 40 minutes. We need 40 minutes. Now, I'm going to choose to hop by my 10s here because I think that will make it a little bit easier for me. So now I'm going to do 10 minutes to get my 40. So now I'm at 12:40. I'm sorry, 12:40. And I'm going to go ahead and label that just so that you know I'm hopping. That one hill represents 10 minutes. So I'm going to put 10, and then I'm just going to put MIN here. Or I'm just going to put an M for you now, just because I don't have enough space there to write it. So there's 10. I need to go 40, remember? So now it's going to be 12:50. And then remember, our time is based on 60, so I can't go past. I'm ready to go to a new hour. So 10 more minutes is going to take me to 1 o'clock. So now I'm at 1. And remember, the significance in knowing noon changes my AM to PM. So now I am in PM. So here's going to be 30 minutes, and I need 10 more because remember, she practiced 2 hours, or the soccer we practiced was 2 hours and 40 minutes. So I'm going to add 10 more minutes to that, and our end time for soccer practice is going to be 1 p.m., 1:10 p.m. So the end time, practice will end at 1:10, and it's very important that I put PM because practice started in the AM and it's ending in the PM. So hopefully this has helped you see the difference in how that number line works for telling time. It makes it easier to visually see it. I hope this helps. If you have trouble, just let me know and I will be online to help you. Have a great day. Bye.